we good. Friends, I'm sorry about the cutting of the video. Like I said, my battery just ran off, but be that as it may, I managed to find it because I had to go to school so that I can do this in my premises and then utilize all the resources that we have. Some of us, we are not afraid of COVID. We want to go back to school. Sure. Now then, let's go back. Remember when we left whereby we were talking about where would we find this particular DNA that we are talking about, and then we said the exact location whereby we find DNA, it's inside the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, that's where we find this DNA. And then where particularly inside the nucleus, because we are having structures within the nucleus. Do we find it inside the nucleus? No. Do we find it around the nucleus sac? No. But where particular we find it inside the chromatin network. But it is not only inside the nucleus whereby we find DNA. We also find DNA outside the nucleus or beside the nucleus. We also have things such as mitochondria. We have this structure which is known as mitochondria. In most cases, we know mitochondria as a powerhouse. It's a powerhouse. Now, when you talk about powerhouse, what are we talking about? Mitochondria, it is the one that supply us with power. It is the one that supply us with energy. It is the one that supply us with ATP. So the very same energy that you have, you get it from mitochondria because it is known as what? A powerhouse. And then within the mitochondria, we find DNA, and then it is known as what? Mitochondrial DNA. In most cases, it is written like this: mitochondrial DNA. So we find DNA inside the mitochondria, and then it is known as what? Mitochondrial DNA. And then mitochondrial DNA, it is the one that we are going to use when we are dealing with evolution, when we study fossils, when we study ancient things that were left, the remainings, the dead remainings that were left long time ago. The same thing that we want mitochondrial DNA. Perhaps now you can relate why DNA, it is regarded as a code of life. So whenever we study these other organisms, we check DNA, we check their code, we compare these codes, and then we see clearly our codes are the same. Like when they check the chimpanzee, the DNA of the chimpanzee and our DNA, they are 99.9 identical. What does that mean? It means we are closely related, not that we have emerged from them. Not that we have emerged from the chimpanzee, not that chimpanzees emerged from us, but it means that we are closely related, meaning these are our cousins. So whenever you go to zoo, you must look to them. Look yourself. And then you will see the same way you hold a banana is the same way the chimpanzee does. The same way you peel it, it is the same way the chimpanzee does. When you were young, you used to play kodifateng, the same thing that is done by the chimpanzee. How about too? And you find ladies, whenever they want to fight, they beat themselves on their chest. The same way when these chimpanzee, when they start to fight, they do the same thing. What does that mean? It means we are closely related. So we study what? The DNA. Moving on, not only inside the nucleus, not only inside the mitochondria, but also inside the chloroplast. Inside the chloroplast. Now, chloroplast, in most cases, we find chloroplast in our plants, the green plants. Why are these plants green? It's because they have what is known as what? Chlorophyll. And then now, the chlorophyll, it is the one that gives the particular flower that color. So in simpler terms, chloroplast, we also find DNA. So 3 places where we find DNA. Nucleus, we find the DNA. Mitochondria, we find the DNA. And the chloroplast, we find the DNA. Just to wrap up here, mitochondrial DNA, like I said, we are going to use it towards the end of the year, whereby we now, in short, mitochondrial DNA, it assists us in order to trace our ancestors. So for me to trace my ancestors, I need to check what? Mitochondrial DNA, because mitochondrial DNA, it is passed from one generation to another. Yeah, okay, Mos? Sharp. Then let's pass here. We are done. We know that whenever we check our chromatin network, that's where we will find our DNA. Now, let's move quickly. Remember, we said we are having nitrogenous bases. Do you still remember the nitrogenous base? Well, nitrogenous base, we have adenine, we've got thymine, we've got guanine, we've got cytosine. And then remember, we said they are what? Complementary base pair. They complement one another. So adenine, immaturely incorrect, thymine. Guanine immaturely in cytosine. So cytosine match with guanine. Hence, they are regarded as a complementary base pair. They complement one another. We are okay? Sure. So we said again, nucleus, 2 functions of nucleus. The first one is that nucleus, it controls all the activities that are happening inside the cell. And then secondly, we said it is what? It is responsible for passing hereditary characteristics from parents to the offspring. So all the characteristics that parents have, they then copy these characteristics and then pass them into the offsprings. Now, we know the location. We know by now where we would find our DNA. Now, let's check. DNA. Our DNA, like I said, or DNA It is a code of life. Now, DNA is just like when you go to buy an airtime. When you go there, you have to scratch so that you can find what? A code. If you can miss a digit, they will then tell you that you have entered an invalid PIN. Why? Because now there is a mistake, there is a mutation that happened there. So DNA always and always, it is a code of life. And then in all our cells, we find DNA. And in DNA, in most cases, we use it for paternity test. Utatako. Once you run away from supporting, or not even supporting, but to acknowledge that a certain child is your child, the only justice that can be done is that we run a test. We run a test. And that particular test, it is known as what? DNA test. Why DNA test? Because it's a code of life. Oh, then I understand why we say nucleus. It is responsible for passing hereditary characteristics from parents to offspring. So they will just take my hair and they will check the code in my hair. It is the same code that my child has, which means what? Which means we share characteristics, and then my child will not take these characteristics from anywhere except me and her mom or his mom. Really rakopanya characteristics and then pass them into our beloved child. Now let's move fast so that we can go to the cousin of DNA. Remember when we were dealing with what? Let's go back to our first thing. We said we have phosphate portion, we have the sugar portion, and we have nitrogenous base. Your adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Now, here, DNA has its own sugar portion, and that sugar portion, it is known as deoxyribose. When you talk about the sugar portion of DNA, it is known as deoxyribose sugar. Now, the question might come and say, give us what is the sugar portion for DNA? And then your answer will be what? Deoxyribose. You can say sugar. Does not make any difference because they just ask you to give us what is the name of that particular sugar. So yours is to say deoxyribose. Give us 4 types of nitrogenous base: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. And mamela, they said give us nitrogenous base, not the alphabet. Now, in most cases, we fail simply because we do not adhere to instruction. So we adhere, we follow instruction to the letter. We are okay. So when they ask you, what does adenine match with? You know. Thymine. Simple. Adenine. I see you are starting to enjoy this. Okay? Sharp. Now, DNA, it's a long strand. It's a long strand. DNA, it's a double helix. It's a double helix, meaning DNA, it is made up of double strands. It's a long strand, and then its natural shape. This one, it's a natural shape. And then I can't wait to show you something. It's a natural shape. And then again, DNA, the sugar portion of a DNA, it is known as deoxyribose sugar. We are okay? Sure. So basically, that's much about DNA. Never again, DNA, it has what is known as a nitrogenous bond. Madala K, you must say it has a weak nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous base, or rather bond, not base. Sorry. So we have the long strand, we have double helix, we've got deoxyribose sugar, we also have what? Weak bond, the bond in between. So in most cases, you will find your DNA being just like this. Let me show you the structure. So you see, here we are. We are having our adenine. Like I said, must always pair with thymine. You see, we've got our phosphate, and then this D. Deoxyribose sugar. And next to the sugar, we find what? We find nitrogenous base. And then we have guanine match up with cytosine. In some cases, they will just omit a letter. They will just give you guanine and then say to you, Phil, what is it that needed or that needs to be here? So you know, okay, my complementary base, this is how they move. We are okay, Mos. I want us to move fast. And then we have the cousin or a cousin of DNA. And then a cousin of DNA is RNA. What does RNA stand for? RNA stands for, correct, ribonucleic acid. Let's move fast. Ribonucleic acid. And then this one, it's what? It's a short, it's just an opposite. It's a short strand. And then if it's a short strand, does it have a double helix? No, it is not double. So it's single. So if you are not double, you are single. And then the sugar portion. Yeah, DNA king, deoxyribose. And RNA is what? It's just ribose. And then does it have bond? How will it have bond if it's single? So in terms of bond, the bond is absent. Now, examiner would say to you, tabulate for difference between DNA and RNA. Tabulate for difference between a DNA and RNA. So immediately when they say tabulate, they are saying to you, make a table. Make a table. This is not a table. This is a. So you must not make this thing. This one, just fapano, Yesu wakawatu adaso.